Okay, here we go. Is this it? Joe Rogan's full comments on kids playing video games. I think that like, so going into this, here's kind of like my take without reading it, just like seeing what people have talked about it and saying. I think that Joe Rogan probably said something that was probably like not really that bad, but because like there are some people that make money playing video games, people think that's like a viable like path that you can take. But I don't know. I think Joe Rogan is pretty is pretty level-headed with this stuff.
Rogan experience.
Okay, let's see.
I don't know if you agree with this. There were a ton of kids along the way growing up as I was building my business that would say, "Oh, I'm not into this. I'm not into that." Kind of like you described yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything because they're looking for that thing. And I would argue, do something. Do fucking something until you find that thing.
Yeah, I've never been that kid though. I've always been into things. I was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in. Just none of them seemed like they were normal things that other people wanted to do for a living. Like the path, like a career path.
He's saying he's a furry.
But I think that there's a lot of people that don't have any. There's no one. They're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire. Someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love. Sometimes kids have to see that. Right. And if their parents are living a bullshit life and their neighbors live in a bullshit life and most of their family lives a bullshit life, they just fucking lay around, you know, and then they seek refuge in drugs or video games or something that stimulates them. And video games are a real problem. They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And you don't, I have a real problem with them. And you do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere. Right. It's like you could do like martial arts, right?
That's
you
not
could learn
untrue.
jiu-jitsu. You get obsessed by jiu-jitsu, and then 3 years later, you're like an elite jiu-jitsu athlete. You're entering in competitions. You're a purple belt.
You're moving up.
Yeah.
I'll be real right here, okay? Like, what are we in the fucking 15th century, Joe? Like, when the fuck are we ever gonna need to worry about jiu-jitsu? Like, what do you think? It's gonna be like a fucking samurai legion is gonna break into Walmart and you're gonna have to fight them off with your jiu-jitsu skills? No, man. Like, being really good at martial arts has as much real-world value as being really good at Counter-Strike. The only difference is that martial arts is slightly better because it gets you to exercise. That's the difference. But that's the skill itself, the perfecting of the skill is the same. It just, I don't know. I think it's the same thing, man. Self-defense, though? Just, that's like, the thing is, like, you just, I'm not even gonna fucking get it. Yeah, just buy I'm not gonna say buy a gun, right? But like, really, I mean, like, how often do you think that's gonna really happen, man? Like, come on. People think that they're gonna just like, this isn't like fucking Pokemon and you're just walking through the grass and there's a random encounter of some guy that's trying to mug you. It just doesn't really happen a whole lot. Like, relax.
You're doing well. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100 students and those 100 students are paying me X amount of dollars per month, I can make a living.
That's
Holy
cool.
shit, I can have this would be amazing. And then you see your jiu-jitsu school, and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes and he's got a nice family, and like, that's the future. This way you're doing something exciting and fun, and you don't. Or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years later, you could be that same kid just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is, next Xbox game to come out, and you're gonna waste your time.
Okay, so that is partially true. Like, basically what he's saying effectively is that jiu-jitsu and like martial arts have like there's a more reliable path to making a living with it versus video games. I think that's kind of like his point with like wasting your time. But it's like people can, and I think that's partially true, but it's becoming less true now that you have like professional teams and stuff. No, that's not true. It's not true though? Well, yeah. I mean, I think that, like, for example, I think that it's more likely for someone to have a long career, right? Like, I'd say like a 15, 20-year career you know, being good and like, you know, working in the martial arts industry than video games, like especially playing them, right? Not making them, playing them. It's very rare. And I think that like this is kind of like the NBA effect that people see, is that you see all the people that are making a lot of money. You see all the people that are doing really well. But what you aren't seeing are the other 99.9% of people that don't do that. I mean, like it doesn't have like an outcome to them. Like, I'm not saying, well, I'll make my full comments after I finish the video. Let me just keep going.
You have children. I have children, and it's a big battle in the house.
Games?
And my kids, I don't know if you're going through this, but my kids are now saying, well, Dad, this guy made all this money with this video game.
Oh, shit.
That's real too. That's
right?
real too.
Oh, shit.
So, like, that's 1 in a billion, kid. Like,
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but, you know, look, I heard the same argument about comedy. My own parents were like, do you know how few people make it as a comedian? I was like, okay. Does anybody make it? Somebody makes it, right? They figure out how to do it. They make a living. I'm going to do that. Just stop. Like, I know what I'm doing. I was real lucky that my parents were not around very much, so I didn't get much advice. So I figured it out myself. So there was no one telling me I couldn't do it.
I'm lucky. My parents are always supportive.
I was like, I'm going to find my way through this. And since no one's telling me it's impossible, no one's telling me I can't. Occasionally I would hear someone say, what are the odds? I'm like, listen to this fucking loser. That's odds? My thought was always like, that guy's a loser. Like, if you think like that, you're a loser. But there are kids that make a lot of fucking money playing video games. But the thing is, like, you have to be adaptable. You have to be able to play multiple video games, because the one video game that you get really good at, what are the odds that's going to be around 5 years from now?
Man, Joe, like, why are you talking about me like this? Why are you trying to talk? Why do you try and fucking talk to me about, like, why he had to bring me up in the fucking video, man? Like, what an asshole.
You know, like, what's the big one now? Like, Fortnite? Is that? Did they make money off of that? Yeah. And then there's Call of Duty. They make money off that.
Man.
What's the big money? StarCraft used to be the big one, right?
Yeah, it used to be like 10 years ago, Joe. Come on, man.
Counter-Strike it's still the Half-Life mod.
Yeah, variations of it have come out.
Oh,
it's still
man.
basically the same exact game.
They don't make money off.
What about WoW, man?
Not really.
Nah, really.
Well, yo, what about WoW?
One or two guys do, I think.
Yeah, see, it's you got to pick the right game. You know, you could be obsessed with the wrong game.
What are you going to do? You're going to spend 5-10 hours a day in that house?
You have to.
Right.
You would have to.
Okay. Okay. So, I don't know. Like, I think it's just like it's a moderation thing. If you play video games all the time, then yeah, that's not good. Like, if you're not making any money off of it, you're not doing anything, like, that's not good. But like playing games just to have fun, you do whatever you want, man. Like, it's like, I think that like people, they get into like this idea that like, well, because, you know, like there's like Ninja or, you know, some other fucking streamer or some professional player, faker or whatever, you know, that they're going to play and be that good and like get to that position. I think that's on the same level of delusion as people that are like, I'm going to play basketball and get into the NBA. I think that's unrealistic. And so I don't know. I don't feel like anything he's like really said is that bad. I think it just matters of moderation. Like, it's a huge difference in my mind between like playing a game for like, I don't know, fucking a few hours a day and then playing it for 10 hours a day. Like that, and like that's a big difference. A few hours is a big difference from 30 minutes or 1 hour, right? It depends on like how much. And I think that ultimately what it comes down to is that, are you doing your hobby, right? Whatever your hobby is. If your hobby is playing video games, if your hobby is collecting Pokemon cards, or you know, anything like Warhammer, are you doing your hobby at the expense of other things in your life? And in my mind, that's what I think is the determining factor whether something is harmful or not. So for example, like if you're playing video games all the time and you're unemployed and you're happy, and you know there's nothing like, or you're like retired or something like that, and you're happy, like I don't really think that's a bad thing. It's okay. I mean, of course, like you can make an argument for the fact that like you're not getting any physical activity. Like I think that's true, but for the most part, I think that it's okay. So I don't think that Joe Rogan's comments are unreasonable. I don't think that what he said is untrue. I think that really, can I get a tank, please? I just need a tank. There we go. Thank you. And let's go ahead and do it. I don't think that what he said is unreasonable. And I think that really people, there's a large amount of, and here's really what it is. This is kind of the same thing as like weed, okay? And I'm going to draw a parallel here. So whenever you grow up and people that smoke weed are persecuted, right? They are. I mean, they literally go to jail for doing it. So whenever you say something like weed isn't good for you because you're still inhaling smoke or anything critical of smoking weed at all, you're going to have people that are going to immediately get very defensive about it because they're used to being very defensive about it. And I think video games are kind of the same thing. Video games are oftentimes used as, people don't take you seriously if you play video games or whatever. And, you're called a loser or whatever. And like, this isn't really as much the case now, but, with a lot of us that grew up that are, popular or whatever, voices in the community now, whenever we grew up, that was kind of the case. And so, especially maybe with your parents or, with older people. The thing is for me is that I don't think that Joe Rogan's comments were unreasonable at all. I think that, you should want to do something beyond just playing video games. Like for me personally, even, like I knew whenever I was playing video games all the time, like that wasn't like the best thing to do. And I think that it's very easy for you to look at somebody, by you I mean like anybody, like me, you, anybody, to look at somebody like Ninja, to look at somebody like Tfue, to look at somebody who's very successful, like Faker, like the example I used earlier, and so like, well, look at this guy, he's really fucking good at this game, and he's like he's making millions of dollars. And so well, I mean, the difference is like, I'm not famous for being good at video games, right? And so that's kind of that's the difference there. But sure, I'm flattered. But there are people like, for example, like streamers, I think it's much more of a gray area of like why some streamers are popular and why why they make a lot of money. It's not necessarily because they're really good at video games. I think that, for example, for me, the reason why people initially started watching my videos is because I was good at WoW, right? I was very, very good. I had some of the best guides out there, and I'll stand by that any day of the fucking week. I had way better fucking videos than anybody else. I made better guides. I told people how to do things. I knew everything about the achievements. I knew everything about the fucking game. I brought in plenty of exclusive content that nobody else had thought of doing, and I did this regularly on a weekly basis. Go back and look at my videos. I completely fucking, I stand by that. I did a great job with my fucking videos. Sometimes I feel bad because I still don't make them. And anyway, so yeah, I mean, of course, obviously, like you're gonna have, is this guy stuck? He's stuck. Let me just break him out. And so you're gonna have people that are gonna look at somebody like that and they're gonna say like, well, because this person was very successful, that means that I'm going to be successful too. I think this is an unhealthy perspective because it's unrealistic. While it's partially true, it's also partially untrue. And for me personally, I think that you should focus, like not you, but anybody, you should focus on like doing things that like kind of have a little bit more of a broad appeal. For example, like you're gonna see, like you look at the people that have the most visibility, and like for example, whenever I talk to people about like about streaming, and they're like, oh wow, streamers, because like they'll hear like how much money Ninja made or how much money Tfue made or somebody like that, right? I think those are like the two popular guys that like get noticed for that kind of stuff. And they'll be like, wow, that's crazy. I was thinking about getting into it and like getting into streaming and like making a lot of money. But like the fact is that there's like such a massive survivorship bias with like streaming, for example, is that most people that start streaming are not really even going to break 10 viewers. And some of that's luck, some of that's, ability to entertain. And there's like a million, like the video game they're playing with, the people they're playing with, everything, right? What they look like, I mean, just like the time of the day. I mean, fuck, dude, like everything, like their own computer. There are so many factors that come into this. And I think that it's important to keep that in mind as a person like getting into it. And, you can't always just look at the top people and think that that's going to be you. And so I don't think Joe Rogan's comments were completely wrong. I think that they did partially come out of a place of ignorance, but I also don't think that makes him completely wrong either. I think that there's a point to be made with what he's saying. So that's pretty much my take on it. What do you guys think? It's a time-served industry. It will come back. It will come if you stick with it. No, I don't think so. You know, because you have like certain industries, right? Like the movie industry. Like you can be working as an actor forever and you might never like really kind of make it big as an actor ever. It's not like if you work in the industry for 30 years, there's a guarantee that you're going to be Russell Crowe. It's just not the way things go. I think obviously it does, like hard work. It's important to work hard at something 100%. Like if you're not working hard at something, you're probably not going to succeed, but working hard at something doesn't mean that you will succeed. I think that's a good way to look at it, man. The game I play is Ignorance, also Asmongold. Martial arts, same real life application as CSGO. Well, that's fine, but like, I don't know, I don't feel... So like, for example, like learning how to like punch through a concrete block. That has no real life application. It really just doesn't. I mean, like it's a matter of like skill and technique and perfecting a technique. Like you're never going to use that skill directly. Some smash? Okay. Okay, all right. So there's a little bit, you got me there. There's a little bit of overlap. But for the most part, that's not really the case. And that's what I'm saying, okay? Is that teaches discipline and focus? Yes, but like you're talking about like a secondary effect of the process of learning the ability or learning the technique and not necessarily the technique itself. You can apply that exact same logic to video games. You can say that it applies skill and dedication to video games as well. There's nothing unique about that in that way. And so that's why I think that's a bad comparison and a bad rationalization. But overall, I think that like, yeah, you're not really going to use those skills in real life either. It's kind of like, it's like in video games, like being really good at a video game doesn't matter. Like it just really doesn't matter. Like if you're, you don't advance society, you don't do anything. Like it's entertainment, right? And entertainment is just, it's kind of like binary. Like you're either entertained or you're not. It's not like there's different levels of like acceptable and good entertainment versus bad entertainment, right? Versus like, you know, besides like laughing at somebody like falling downstairs or some kind of shit, you know what I mean? And so nothing matters. Well, no, not nothing matters. There are plenty of things that do matter, right? And like, for example, I would argue that, let's say, I think this is like a very fucking goddamn it. I died in normal mode Mechagon. Can I get a battle res? For example, like being a doctor has more real world value than being a professional Fortnite player. Like I would say that like just in general, it has more real world value. Now obviously like there's more nuance to that, right? In terms of like people being entertained and like feeling good about it. But I would say like, yeah, that's I would pretty much agree with that. You could think of like an abstract way that it's not true, maybe, but for the most part, I would say that it is. I said to learn about business from WoW than from what do you call it? Than from business school. That is true, but me doing that is not a necessary and a guaranteed outcome from the process itself. Many other people did the exact same thing. I hate this fucking song and I skip ahead of it every fucking time. Many people also did the exact same thing as I did, and they didn't gain that experience. So there are different types of like unique experiences. Like for a doctor, what you learn as a doctor has a direct impact in improving the quality and the value of other people's lives. Guaranteed. Like the action of doing it has the value. Video games as entertainment and watching streamers as entertainment, the video game is the medium that the entertainment is conveyed on, but it is not the primary action that causes people's lives to get better. Does that make sense? It's very, maybe I'm not explaining this correctly, but I hope that that's understandable. Why would you, out of all people, say work hard? You did what you love, became rich, did random shit you hate, free motivation to make you work hard? Well, yeah, of course you should work hard for things, right? I mean, like, I think that if you want to be successful at anything, you have to work hard at it. Of course. I mean, I think that's like one thing that I would tell anybody, right? Is like, if you want to be successful at, you know, X, Y, or Z, you need to work hard at whatever you're doing. And if you don't, then other people will outwork you and get ahead of you. Yeah, I mean, like, fuck yeah, that's 100% the truth.